So we're going to get started. Thank you for all being on time. And we're going to put up the presentation now and get right into our tips. I will say also, it would be great if you could grab a pen and paper, because if you've been to any of our BrandTwist webinars or live talks or brand school, you know that this is branding in action. This is not brand theory. So my goal is that everyone who's participating right now or on the recording walks away with at least, but I think you're going to have many, many more, at least one action step that you can take for your business right away. So go ahead and grab pen and paper, because I'm going to ask you intermittently about your ideas. And I know you're going to come up with lots of ideas. So Ted, if you want to put the presentation up, then we will get started. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to be talking about boosting your brand immunity. And I know, first of all, I'm hoping that everybody's well, that your families are well, and I'm sending out, so much love to everybody. And I'm not making light of immunity as a subject. I'm just twisting immunity to talk about your business, because I think the way you feel and the way your business are going are really linked. And I know that self-care, business care is self-care. And I know having control, actually I've read about this, maybe you have too, but being in control of your ideas, in control of your business actually has been known to boost your immunity, your physical immunity. So today we are going to talk about how to twist to have specific actionable strategies to boost your business immunity, so that after this period of great disruption, we're all going to come out of it with businesses that are intact, and maybe even businesses that are even stronger. Because I do believe that disruption can breed great innovation. So what we're going to do is twist. And if you're not familiar with twisting, I'll just give you a super quick recap. It's all written about it all in my book. You're going to hear a lot about it now. But twisting is basically two things. One is it is looking at things from a fresh perspective and looking and behaving in a way that's different. Maybe even in a way that's a little bit uncomfortable, out of your comfort zone, but it's fresh and it's new. And the second thing about twisting is that it's a verb. It's actually the technique that we're going to use, which is I'm going to share with you lots of best practices from small brands, from large brands, from American brands, from European brands, and you're going to listen and absorb those best practices and then twist them with your business. Okay? So we are going to cover 3 strategies. I would love to hear from you at the end which of the 3 is most resonant, most useful. And again, I'd love you to walk away with at least one idea under each category. And then I'm going to talk to you about how you can get more help to go even further. So super quick story. I know a lot of you have heard this, but I know there are a lot of new faces here as well about how the whole twisting idea came. This is my personal, my true story, which was when I was working as a branding consultant for Interbrand and traveling a lot. I hated flying, and I hated it because I felt like it was want. It was so boring. Every time I took a flight, no matter what the airline was, it was the same experience. And actually, I'd love you to type in now to the chat box if you relate to what I'm talking about. What do you expect from the typical airline experience? What color are the seats? What color are the aisles? How do the flight attendants normally act? What's the sort of, I don't know, the lack of differentiation from the airline experience? And go ahead and type that in. Okay, so I'm seeing some comments here. I think we're a little bit delayed, but I'm guessing that what you guys are going to say is it's gray aisles, blue seats, that it's really just not, I don't know. It's hard to tell which airline you're on most of the time, if you don't have, if you're not looking at your tickets and figuring out exactly what the airline is. So this is what happened to me one day in January 2002. I'm in the airport, rushing for my plane. All of a sudden, I see a airplane on the tarmac with these golden arches on the tail fin. And I thought to myself right away, that would be an airline experience with a twist. That would have not necessarily, chicken McNuggets on board, but it would be really friendly, an easy menu of options, really colorful, and maybe I could get on with my regular size seat and, like McDonald's, supersize it to a more luxury seat. And I started to get excited about this McDonald's airline experience. And all of a sudden I realized, see if you can follow this, that it was actually a mirage. It was the reflection of the neon sign on the window, and there happened to be a plane parked on the tarmac. So it didn't exist. As my 19-year-old son would say, you were tripping. I was tripping, Ma. But in that moment where I thought it did exist, that's how I created the idea of twisting, of looking outside the category for new ideas. So if you're an airline, you don't worry about what the other airlines are doing. You look at other brands and see what they're doing that's interesting and powerful, and you twist those lessons with your own brand. And that's how twisting was born. And that's what I started doing for my clients. And that's what got me to this guy that you probably recognize. I was fortunate enough to work with Richard Branson and some of the other entrepreneurs at Virgin as the head of North American branding for many years. And what I loved about Richard is that he actually is kind of the king of twisting. If you think about it, when he got into the airline business, he was a virgin, unexperienced in the airlines, but there was an industry that he knew a lot about. And go ahead and type that in if anybody knows what was the original business of Virgin. And he used that business, which was Virgin Records, to create a new experience, which was Virgin Atlantic. So he wanted to do something new and different in the airline business. He wanted to shake things up. And so what he did was he twisted out of category with the records and created the experience of Virgin Atlantic. And if you've ever been on a Virgin Atlantic flight, you know that there is a lot more fun to be had. And it's not just about saying, we're a fresh breath of airline or a more fun way to fly. It's actually proving it through things like this bar that's on board on the airplane. This bar is on the airplane. So that's the idea of twisting. Looking outside of your category for something fresh, twisting it to come up with a new idea. And now this is what we're going to do. We're going to cover these 3 strategies to turn this uncertainty that we're all feeling into opportunity. Okay, we are going to effectively twist your business, not literally, but with what's happening because of this terrible disease. And what I've been observing is, I think 2 things are mostly happening to buyers in this climate. One is they're feeling isolated. They're feeling physically isolated because we're all hopefully sheltering in place, staying home. And the second is that we're feeling emotionally isolated because we're all, not able to see our colleagues, or we can see them, but we can't be with them in person. We're separated from family members, from friends. So I think there's an idea of isolation that is impacting business. And I think the second thing is really there's a fear of uncertainty. And it's really hard to get people to buy when they're not sure what's going to happen tomorrow. So we're going to twist with these 2 ideas and see what we can do to build your business. So the first technique is we're going to twist your target audience. Now, if you've read my book or been to any of my BrandTwist events, you know that I am a huge proponent of a very specific, very narrow target audience. I often say if you target everyone, you'll connect with no one. So I'm really, very specific on who's your bullseye target. We do exercises where we create a target avatar, where you pick out a picture, you write a profile, you give them a name. So you wouldn't say something like, I'm targeting women 25 to 54. You would say, I'm targeting Jane, and Jane is 26, and she works for a tech company that is in fashion. And the last fight she had with her boyfriend was about whose turn it is to walk the dog, right? We get very, very specific because in order to connect with somebody, you have to really understand them and know them. And in order to brand to them, which is basically solving their problems, you need also to know, a lot about them. So here's what I think we should do right now is I think we should put those targets aside that we normally brand and market to, and we should twist our target and give ourselves the permission to look outside to see if there are any other people out there that we don't normally consider part of our market, but because of the craziness that's happening right now, they could very well be. And I'm going to give you some examples. And again, I want you to write down right now, who is your current target? And by the time I go through these 4 or 5 slides, I want you to write down, is there a new target that you could brand to? And if you come up with something, I want you to put it in the chat room comments. So in marketing, we always say, go very young. If you go to younger people, you'll get older people. Nobody wants to really build a brand with much older people. But what's really interesting right now is there are some brands that are doing very well by specifically targeting seniors. And this is a brand in my local Westchester community. It's a supermarket that is reaching out to seniors, opening up early to seniors and immunocompromised shoppers and letting them in the store before everybody else gets there. So maybe you haven't targeted to seniors, and this is an opportunity for you to do that. On the opposite end of the spectrum, maybe you've always targeted to, adults, and there's an opportunity to go younger. This is something that came across my news feed through University of Rhode Island, where my son goes. Enterprise, which has for years didn't want to have anything to do with anybody under 25, probably for insurance issues, is now opening up to 18 to 24-year-olds, specifically because they realize that there's a need for these kids to get home, or get back to college. Like my son came home for a week for spring break. It's turned into a permanent break. He had to get back to Rhode Island to pack up his room. So older, we saw with DeChicos. Younger, we've seen with Enterprise. And then here's another example of younger. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but last weekend, the New York Times in the Sunday paper had a section just for kids. And I loved this because this was an adult paper recognizing that these parents have had a whole week, if not 2, with their children being homeschooled, and they're probably dying to relax on a Saturday or Sunday, read the paper, do the crossword puzzle, and then the New York Times delivered by having a whole section that was just for kids, a lot of fun games about dogs that could occupy the kids so the parents could read the paper. And here's the last target that I want to talk about, and I think this one is really, really rich. So because we are all remotely working, there is a whole new cohort of people that many of whom for the first time are working remotely, not a day or 2 a week, but like 24/7. So these people are probably feeling isolated, confused, navigating the new normal. Many of them have kids at home. And I think this could be a really interesting cohort for all of us to look at. This is a picture from my own Zoom call. This was actually my camp alumni association, but I love it because if you think about it, there's all different kinds of people that are now using remote tools like Zoom for the first time. There's older people, there's younger people, there's people who were not tech savvy at all. I mean, just in this picture alone, you see a variety of age groups, and there are people who are getting it right and they're right into the camera. There are people that are in the corner of the Zoom that don't know where to put it, don't know how to use it, don't know how to unmute themselves. But overall, there's a lot of sort of anxiety, I think, that's happening. And I've seen some brands, this is a good example, Headspace, which is usually, it's a mindfulness app. I'm sure a lot of you know it, usually goes direct to consumer. But what they're doing is they're actually going directly to this new target, this new remote cohort, and saying to businesses, we can help with the mental health and the wellness of your work at home employees. Here's a brand that I think should be doing more of this, and this is an example of twisting. Party City, I've been looking at their website, just out of, I get a lot of their emails. I noticed that they're doing some interesting things. They're selling these balloon towers that could go to hospitals or, friends that are ill. And they're selling these kits to banish boredom, which are great craft kits for kids at home. And then they're also selling these adventure in a box. I think Party City could twist its target and sell these boxes for stay-at-home working cohorts. So the boss that wants to reward its team, maybe it's Wednesday and it's hump day, or it's Friday and the team's, made it through a successful week. Why not send a box to each team member? You could all unbox them and open them at once and have some, probably different materials that are in there. But, Party City also sells adult things. It could be a margarita glass or margarita mix or a funny hat or a lei or whatever. And let's get on the Zoom call and celebrate together. So I hope that makes sense. It's twisting your target by looking at new people that might need your services. We had a Facebook Live yesterday, and somebody said, people who do physical therapy could reach out to this new target and say, I'm going to do a group session at once where I'm going to show your team how to sit properly with their laptops, which many of them have not done before, so that they can, work effectively and avoid back pain. So does that make sense? I'd love to see some comments here about whether or not this is helpful. Is this inspiring any new ideas in terms of how you could reach to a new target? And go ahead and put that in the chat box. And while you do that, I'm going to keep going to the second strategy. So the first strategy is twisting your target audience. The second strategy, and I want you to be thinking again, how your brand can twist its target. So look at how you can target somebody different. That's what we were just talking about. I'm seeing a lot of comments coming in now from questions I asked a few minutes ago. So I think there's probably just a delay here. And I'm going to assume that this is making sense and everyone's tracking and keep going. So the second strategy is fundamentally, how can you twist your offering? How can you re-engineer your business to more effectively connect with isolation, uncertainty, new targets during this really difficult time? So again, I'm going to give you some examples. This is my favorite example. My daughter actually brought this to my attention. So it's been reported that Walmart is selling a huge uptick on tops. and no bottoms. And I think that makes a lot of sense. People are now getting dressed for work in a new way, which is kind of from the waist up we need to look professional, and then probably from the waist down, we're all comfortable in our pajamas or leggings, or I actually am dressed right now, but I have fuzzy socks on my feet. So how can your business metaphorically, right? Maybe you're still stuck on selling the whole outfit, but people really only want the tops. What is the top portion of your business that you should be promoting? And of course, I'm not assuming you're in the fashion business. I know you're not from looking at the comments. I'm talking about this as a metaphor for what you offer. And again, I'm going to show you lots of examples here. So this came from Seattle, from one of my brand school students. This is a very high-end restaurant called Canlis. The way that it was explained to me is this is the place if you're getting engaged, having a special birthday, having a graduation dinner, this is the place that you would go. And literally overnight, they reacted and turned their business around. They turned it into takeout, drive-through, delivery. So I think this is a really great example. If you have a physical space, what could you do? Another example is, this is Carrie, is a friend of mine, a brand school student as well. She's a physical therapist. Normally, her physical therapy practice relies on people coming to her studio, spending multiple sessions and at least 60 minutes per session. Obviously, that can't happen anymore. So what she's doing is a series of really quick videos that she's done every day for the past 2 weeks and put on her Instagram account, where she shows people how they can do something to move their body better using what they have. And that could be equipment in their bedroom. It could be a wall that you come across if you're taking a walk. It could be leaning on your dog if you could get it to stay still. So she's doing this, and now she's offering 30-minute virtual sessions, video sessions as well, to help people. So again, if your coaching practice requires, multiple sessions, if it requires, an hour at a time, could you make it simpler for people to engage? Could you help people just get started and at least start to get the help that they need? Here's another example, another brand school student, Daphne. She's got a hair salon. She is doing at-home tutorials for people to cut their bangs. Now, is it ideal to have to do this at home? No, I may have to do it myself in a week or two, but it's better than nothing. It's giving people a sense of control. It's allowing Daphne to stay connected to her target and helping people out in a time when they really need some help. So again, could you do some DIY videos? Could you also take this a step further? I've seen a local very high-end salon that usually charges upwards $250 for hair color, has a wonderful experience where people are, in the salon with great music and beautiful view of the Hudson River. I mean, the experience is really going there. But they're twisted right now. They've changed their offering, and they're offering $40 DIY color kits that you can either pick up or they'll bring to your home. So again, having the opportunity to say, I like to sell the whole outfit, back to the Walmart example, but people only need the tops right now. That's what they're ready to commit to, and twisting your offering. A couple more examples. Home organizers. This takes advantage of the fact that we all have computers with video cameras or phones that have FaceTime. They're doing, this is called Hoarderly. They're doing virtual closet organization sessions. We're all home now. We're looking at all the stuff in our house. We probably want to attack some of those projects that we haven't done, been meaning to do, spring cleaning, but here's an expert that's taking advantage and finding a way to help you. This is a B2B example. This is a friend of mine, Linda Ray, who I know is on this right now. Linda and her partner Trevor usually help businesses with the finances to expand, to buy new businesses. And now they've completely twisted and they're helping businesses figure out how to continue to finance their own businesses. So they've gone from growth to kind of just staying afloat, and they're helping people with SBA loans and all the paperwork and navigating the kind of confusing sea that's out there. So that's another example of a small business doing something really cool. The last two things I want to tell you in this section, I think are really, really important. So you've probably seen these museums that are offering behind the scene tours. You can do a virtual visit of all the artwork that's guided. It's a great way to travel, but without leaving your house. But I think there's actually an opportunity to go further than that. I mean, if you think about it, going to the movies is great, seeing movie trailers are great, but how many of you have watched the sort of making of the movie, right? Those videos. Or last night I went on YouTube with my family. We figured out how to put it on our big TV, and we watched a few videos. If you haven't seen that Les Mis family from the UK right now, it's hysterical. The One More Day, they've done it to all be about quarantining. But we ended up kind of going to the YouTube rabbit hole, and we started watching blooper videos, the bloopers of The Office, you know, the outtakes, the behind the scenes. So here's a business that is in, again, in Seattle, Piroshki and Piroshki Bakery. And they have, they're in Pike's Place in Seattle, and they have a really wonderful, actually really engaging video front and center on their website about how they're cleaning their bakery. And this guy, who is probably the owner of the bakery, is doing a wonderful tour. You get to see the behind the scenes. Probably most of us have never been behind the counter at a professional bakery. So you get to see the behind the scenes working, but you also get to see how they're cleaning the bakery. So if you're thinking about ordering from there, this makes you feel a lot better about it. So how could your business take the same initiative and show behind the scenes? So for example, if you're a graphic designer, I've seen there's some graphic designers here. Could you do a video where you show your process? Like, how do you start when you have a new logo to create? Do you sketch? Do you go to the computer? What do you use as inspiration? If you're an event planner, we have some event planners on the line. How do you go about actually planning the events? Can you take people on a tour of your office? Or you could take them at the behind the scenes look at your process. And I think that's something that people will really connect with. I think you'll have fun doing it. And again, it's acting differently, twisting your offering in a way that you want to keep your brand front and center, and you want to keep people engaged. And the last example that I have in this category is about partnerships. So it's hard, I know, to re-engineer, to think of some of these ideas. Hopefully you have some ideas that are sparking right now from these examples. But I want to mention that you don't have to do it alone. Everybody's in the same boat right now. We're all in that, like, what do I do now? What's next moment? And so this is a fantastic time to reach out to other people. And you could reach out to people who have similar values, but different kinds of brands. You could reach out to local people that maybe you've always just wanted to meet. You can reach out to your direct competition right now. I mean, what honestly do you have to lose? Everybody's in the same boat. So this is an example that was brought to my attention by my friends at Magpie, a branding consultancy in the UK, and it's a donut shop. It's called Crosstown Donuts. And what they're doing is they've partnered in London with other local artisanal businesses. So the same sort of types of brands, but in other categories around food. And they're creating these collective boxes, and they're bringing those boxes to different people. So let me hear from you. What do you think the benefits are of partnering like this? If you can type that in the chat box, hopefully this will catch up a little bit, and we'll see if anybody has any ideas there. And Ted, maybe you could just put in a couple of comments, because I just want to make sure that chat box is working for everybody. Okay. So, okay, we're getting some of the old comments are coming through. Okay, so here's some of what I think the benefits are. First of all, it's easier to create a program if you've got more people to brainstorm against it. Secondly, logistically, it's easier to deliver on a program like this if you have multiple people, multiple brands involved. So I'm guessing that the each of these individual businesses has a certain number of delivery trucks. But if you have one business, maybe you have 2 delivery trucks. If you have 5 businesses working all together, then you have 10 delivery trucks, right? So you're actually, amplifying the power of your ability to deliver. You can share your mailing lists, with all the privacy things done right, but you could share your mailing lists with one another. People could opt in to this collective box. So I want you to think about who you can partner with. So what we just covered in how can your brand twist its offering? How can a physical brand go virtual? How can a brand that is mostly selling a long process or an involved process, how could that brand sell in the Walmart way, just the tops, right? How can you partner with other people to deliver something? How can you show behind the scenes so that you can actually let people connect a little bit more deeply to your brand? So I'm hoping you've got some good ideas. Again, our first tip was twisting your target audience. Our second category was twisting your offering, not selling the whole outfit, but using the Walmart example and figuring out what is that easier, more accessible part of your business that people are willing to engage with right now, to take a chance on. And the third tip, I think this one is also really, really important, is how can you twist for the greater good? So businesses are stepping up right now. I'm amazed. Every day I'm dismayed by what our government is doing, and I am encouraged by what individuals are doing in terms of donating their time, and not just the front responders, but people making masks, people supporting the first responders, and also businesses really stepping up to collaborate and to switch some of their manufacturing to specifically manufacture things that we need during the crisis. And I think this is something that every business should be thinking about. How are you giving back right now? How are you being a force for good? But I want you to think about how you can do that in a way that still builds your brand. So lets people know what you're about, what your twist is, what's unique about you. And also, if possible, make some money. And maybe it's just enough money to keep the lights on or to pay a few employees. But I think there's a way to do both, to do good and to do business. And I'm going to share a couple of examples with you. So this is an example of a pizza parlor, again, in my town in Westchester, but I think this is a national campaign, so maybe you've seen it. It's called Dough for Dough. And what they're doing is pizza parlors are saying, if you buy one of our pizzas and then give a little extra money, I think in this case it was $13, we will donate some pizza to a local first responder. And they're also saying, in this case, if you donate a pizza, we'll match that donation. So they're still getting deliveries. Their business is still out there, but they're also showing that they care by going the extra mile to donate these pizzas. This is another example. This is a beading company that I saw online, posted in my local Westchester Facebook group. And what they're doing is, if you buy a kit, a bead kit, which is great for the kids that are at home, you can make this the art class part of the day. If you have smaller children, they'll donate a bead making kit, a bracelet making kit to the local children's hospital. And I think this is such a win-win because it's a relatively small amount of money. It's a valuable product for your kids at home. And it's a really valuable thing to do for, these poor children who are in the hospitals right now and have very limited, if any, visitation from family. So I think this is a way for them to sell more kits and do some good. Here's another example. This is, again, brought to my attention from the UK. It's a pale ale. It has a really kind of cool twist on it. It's a craft beer. It has a sort of funky, punky attitude towards it. And it has started making hand sanitizer. So it's repurposed its business operations to make hand sanitizer. But what you'll notice about this hand sanitizer, this is not your mother's Purell, right? This is in cans that have the branding on it. It's called Punk Sanitizer, which I love. This is just like so much fun. And they're still presenting their brand, presenting their product. They're doing good because they're giving the sanitizer to people who need it. But they're doing good in a way that's keeping their brand sort of healthy and alive. Here's another example. I did a Facebook Live earlier this week. I asked for people to tell me what they're seeing. This is a local sporting goods store called Pedigree. They are donating goggles to hospitals. And the way it was described to me is that you can buy a pair of goggles, and for every pair of goggles that you buy, a pair will be sent to a local hospital. And there's a spreadsheet on the website where you could sign up your local hospital. It's called Goggles for Docs. Maybe it's not, it's the kind of equipment that ideally we would have, but I'm sure these doctors are appreciating it. And again, I think it's a great example of tying the good that you're doing to your fundamental business. So another example. So here, what I wanted to share with you in this section is, how can your brand twist for the greater good? So how can you do that urge, fulfill that urge that we all have right now, which I think is so important, of making sure that we're giving back, but how can we do it in a way that reinforces what our brand is about? And how can we do it in a way that also reinforces, maybe make some money? Again, I don't think it's a bad idea to try to sell right now. I don't think you should ever spam people. I don't think you should have marketing messages that don't connect. I think you should be more thoughtful in your branding. But if you feel like you have something of value, and I hope if you're all in business, you do feel like you have something of value, how can you connect what your fundamental business is about and use that as a way to actually, do some good? So those are the three strategies: twisting your audience, twisting your offering, and twisting for the greater good. And I hope that this has given you some ideas. I was hoping to see the ideas in the chat box. It seems to be on a big delay. Ted, I don't know, are you seeing any questions that you could share?
Hi. There was a question from Linda earlier asking, I think it was a hairdresser, isn't she afraid to lose clients who will just choose to buy the kits?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think so. I think, if people were fundamentally, into the do-it-yourself kits, they probably wouldn't be clients of that salon anyway, because they're probably buying their, Miss Clairol in CVS. These are people who are already in her community. So I think they believe in her expertise in going to the hairdresser. I think it's good enough for now. And I think that she's getting a lot of goodwill by allowing people to do it. In fact, I've seen on her Instagram feed so many people, especially with the bang cut person. We don't want to cut our bangs, but she's seeing so many people saying thank you and following her. So if you can't keep up the business, at least you can keep up the engagement so that when the business turns around, people will remember what you've done. I think we're getting somebody who wants to speak and ask a question. Can we unmute that person?
Sure, let's do that.
Hello? If you're wanting to ask a question, you might have to unmute on your own end as well. Let's try it again, Ted. Looks like.
Okay, there's someone new.
Yeah.
Hello? Caroline, you can go.
Caroline, are you there? Okay. It might be easier for people to type in some questions. If anybody has a question now, I don't know, on your end, Ted, like mine's way, way, way far behind. I'm just seeing people saying.
Yeah, from Carolina, what would you recommend for an event planner company to twist for greater good?
Yeah, that's great. I think that, and I know there's a lot of event planners on here, and I'm so glad to see you all. I think that you could offer your expertise to, to a nonprofit right now, or to a local business. Maybe you could help them plan a virtual event. Maybe you could help them plan an auction, or one of these. I see a lot of really cool virtual things happening at once, where people all gather at the same time and celebrate the same thing. So I think you could reach out to nonprofits. I think event planners could put on virtual classes right now, for people who are, want to do events, but, don't know how. I think you could work with your clients that are canceling their events, and maybe for a lower cost, you could say, we can't get everybody together, but, for a minimum cost, maybe we could put on a virtual seminar or virtual webinar for your clients. So I think there are ways that you can still keep your communities engaged. Thank you for that question.
Julie, Laura Crosby wants to know if you're willing to give up your secret sauce. How do you find all these great ideas? Is there a way you search?
Well, I twist. So I'm definitely, willing to have you guys take a look at the book. We're going to talk about that in a second. But my publisher has put the Twist book, which has a whole chapter on how to twist, and it has notes in the back for you to take, and it has these gray sections where these are actual case studies. So the Kindle version of this is on sale. My publisher, which is Panoma Press, has put 30 of their titles on sale for $2.99 on the Kindle version, only through the end of April. So that's one thing, get the book. I think that would help you a lot. And the other thing is just be curious. Every time you get an email from a brand, because we all get, we're all consumers as well as business people. Every time you get an email that stands out, that makes its way to the top of your email box, or you say, okay, there's something interesting here, then practice what I call AAA twisting. The first A is become aware. Start to become aware of brands that are doing interesting things. The second A is analyze. What are they doing? Why did that catch my attention? Why did that, pierce all the other stuff that's going on to my consciousness? So analyze, what are they doing? And then the third A is apply. Apply those practices to your own brand. So AAA twisting is about becoming aware, analyzing exactly what's working, and then applying those lessons to your own brand.
I wonder if Laura was asking how you found the images that you showed on screen. Were you just being curious and just searching, or looking at companies you're aware of?
Yeah, it's a combination. A couple of them. So like many of you, I am blessed to have my children home now. They're supposed to be in college and elsewhere, but they're home. And so I asked them. My daughter's the one who told me she saw the Walmart because she's a teacher. So right now she's doing virtual classes and she's dressing from the waist up and then, comfortable from the waist down. My son Googled and found some articles. So I search for, what are interesting brands doing. I looked on my own Facebook feed and pulled, some ideas. And then also I am doing Facebook Live. So we talk about this now, but I'm doing Boost Your Brand Immunity Facebook Live twice a week on days that begin with a T for twist. So Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm doing those at noon. So if you're in the West Coast, you can have breakfast with me. If you're in the East Coast, you can have lunch. And if you're in Europe, we can have dinner or cocktail together. So if you go to BrandTwist, we do the Facebook Lives. And one of the things I'm asking on the Facebook Live is for everybody to share examples that they see. So, it's not something I'm doing alone. We're doing it as a community.
Great. There are a number of people that have just mentioned some of the things that they're doing that I don't know if you want me to read those out, but there was a question from Jennifer Perry that says, would you recommend keeping prices the same or cutting prices and putting on sale?
I would recommend truncating your offer so that you can do something that's more accessible and at a lower price. I think you do have to be cognizant of the fact right now that people are, uncertain about their future, uncertain about jobs, they're not willing to spend as much money. So I think reducing your prices is a good idea right now, but I would also try to combine that with reducing the scope of what you're offering. So, I wouldn't be selling, a luxury car now for $5,000, but I guess metaphorically, I might be selling, leasing a luxury car for a month for $5,000, if that makes sense. So I do think you have to reduce your prices. I think you could also, again, it's not an hour session, it's a 15-minute session. Or, keep the price relatively the same, but offer to donate part of it. In fact, I mentioned my book, the Kindle version, is on sale for $2.99. I had the opportunity to participate in this because for me, it's more important. My publisher, you can go to panomapress.com/deals and find all 30 titles. There's really fantastic titles, Twist and other 29 other titles that have opted into this program. But I feel it's better to get information that's useful in people's hands. So for me, it's worth it. I want to share that information. the Kindle is usually 5 times that, but it's okay for a limited amount of time. I hope people will take advantage of it. And the other thing that I'm doing is I usually do these things called brand health checks, which are 1 hour session. They're usually $350. Then I've done 30-minute sessions that are $150. Right now, I'm doing brand booster sessions, which are really targeted. It's 30 minutes with me, where I'll send you a quick questionnaire ahead of time just to give me enough information about your business, about your challenges, and get you to think ahead of time about some questions. And then once I get that, and once you've paid for the session, we'll get on the phone for a half an hour, and I'll give you really targeted help. And those are available right now, 30 minutes. You can find them on boostyourbrandimmunity.com. And I'm also giving a portion of that $50 to Doctors Without Borders, which is an organization. I have family in France. I have my husband is French, and so the Médecins Sans Frontières and Doctors Without Borders. Is there anybody who has any more questions, comments?
There was a question about how you might twist an IT firm.
Sorry, say that again, Ted, you broke up.
Yeah, John Milligan asks, how about an IT firm for twisting?
Yeah, I mean, I had an IT issue yesterday, and I got it resolved in a quick amount of time with actually a neighbor of mine who did the Google support. And, he came and was able to take over my desktop and figure things out. So I think, John, you could offer 15-minute, problem solving, really targeted to what's happening right now. Maybe you could ask people on your Facebook, or just do an informal poll. What are the top 3 issues that people are having right now with IT? I'm sure it's probably something about bandwidth, how to use Zoom. I don't know, how to make sure my security is up to snuff. And then target specifically those issues, not like any IT issue, but like specifically one of those 3. Offer remote sessions really quick, and for enough money to get people engaged, but not so much that it's going to be a turnoff. Another question? We have 3 more minutes.
Yeah. I'm not sure what Don was getting at. He put $? Don Fade. I wonder if he's international and wants to know if you're going to actually sell in euros or something like that. Sorry.
No, I think he's I know Don. He's local. He's a security company. So I'm guessing the question is about, how much to charge. And, again, I don't think if you lower your prices right now in the right way, again, and I think the right way is really narrowing down on what you're offering. So it's just the top, maybe it's even just a sleeve of the top, just to use the Walmart analogy. And, making it clear that right now you're looking to help people. And the most important way to help people is to give them something they can afford in a very targeted way that can be accomplished in a short amount of time. And then, God willing, when this is all over, it might make us rethink our pricing in general. I mean, I think it's always healthy to look at your prices and to look at your the way that you're doing business. And I think we'll all come out of this stronger. I mean, that's the message that I really want to give everybody is, it has been proven through history that when there are things that happen, there is disruption, but there's also innovation. And I know when I was working at Virgin during one of the financial crisis, and, we had to rethink some of our offerings. And that was okay, because, I think we get complacent. So I think rethinking the way we do business is good. And, you have to make money to stay in business. So I think if you have to do some short-term things just to keep the lights on, that's okay. I don't think there's any shame in that. If you have fundamental value in your business and expertise, then it will come back. Let's see, any more questions?
Kim Page, I have a question about communications coaching, but she didn't post the question.
Okay, well, I think, let's see, is it possible to unmute her, or is that not working?
Hold on. She is not listed in there.
Okay, so I think the best thing to do for your individual questions, and I'm so here to help all of you. Again, if you have $50 to invest, which I'm hoping is doable for everybody, I really put it that price point on purpose, and remember that portion of that will also go to doing good with Doctors Without Borders. Then go to boostyourbrandimmunity.com, go on the top and sign up for a brand booster. You'll get a questionnaire, you'll get a time slot, it will be with me, and we will be able to answer your specific questions, and you will come out with an action plan from that call. So that's one thing. The second thing is, if you have time to read now, go to Amazon.com and pick up either the Kindle version of Twist or the regular version. And the third thing is, I will be doing these Boost Your Brand live Facebook groups, again, Tuesdays and Thursdays on the BrandTwist page at Facebook at noon Eastern time. So have breakfast with me, have lunch with me, have dinner with me. And I will be doing more webinars. In fact, I have a question for the group, and then we're going to let everybody go. The two more webinars that I'm thinking about are one on personal branding, which helps us all with our personal brand and job seekers. And the second different one would be on brand touch points. So all of the brand, moments along your experience. So if you're still on the line and you have an idea of which one of those would be more useful for you, personal branding or touch points, if you could type that in, you can write personal or touch point. We will be doing more webinars. Feel free to join us in the future, and to stay connected, Julie at BrandTwist.com, and also to keep checking in on each other, and make sure that you're taking care of yourselves and that you're taking care of one another. And we will be posting a link to this recording in some follow-up emails. So I hope to see you in a brand booster session, one-on-one. If you do work with a couple people, you can get a couple people on the phone. You can do it with your team. I do hope that you'll pick up a copy of Twist. I hope this was helpful. I really enjoyed your comments and your questions, and I know there will be many more. So I'm sending you big purple love, and be well, and I will see you soon. Thanks so much.